One of my favorite puzzles to try to do with loops is to design shapes using stars and figuring out how they can be accomplished with loops. So that's what we're going to try in this program. It's a really good example of for loops because you have all of the dimensions of the shape sort of figured out before the loop begins. So this is a great for loops example, rather than starting the shape and we don't know how many rows of stars we're going to have or whatever. So it's a great for loop example. So we'll put a couple dimensions at the beginning. We'll have a width and we'll have a height here. And the first thing that we're going to do is we're going to make a square. So if you forgot how to do multi-line comments, you use these stars. So we're going to kind of do it like this. So this would be a square that has a height and a width of 3. Of course, when you're doing a square, the height and the width are always the same. That's what makes it a square. So we'll prompt the user for the dimension. System.out.print enter the height of your square. Okay. And then we'll have height gets the value of input dot next int. Here we go. And then we're ready to draw the square. So what we're going to do is we know we need an amount of rows equal to the height of the square. So we're going to do int I equals 1, while I is less than or equal to, this is the height, I plus plus. And then what we're going to do here is inside on the first row, we are going to need a print of stars that is also equal to the height. So we need another for loop in here. So this is kind of like the rows, if you want. And then this one here is going to handle, which stars get printed in that row. So int j gets the value of 1, while j is less than or equal to the height as well. And this one is j plus plus. Okay, and then all we want to do here is do a system.out.print. We're going to print a star. And then after this row is complete, this is where we want to skip to the next line. So system.out.println, and then we're ready for the next line. So if I run this, enter the height of the square, I'm going to do 6. So we're going to get 6 rows of 6 stars. Now let's do the same thing, except we'll do a rectangle, just to kind of drive this home. So a rectangle will kind of look like this. Maybe we have still, a width of 3 this time, but we would have a height of 4, and then it would look like this. So we're going to kind of repeat the same process. First thing I'm going to do is I'm going to copy paste the prompt from the first one. So what is the height of your, this time, rectangle? And then we're going to do this again. What is the width of your rectangle? And then we'll go width. Now, you probably figured out that this is the loop to use for this. Okay, so now we know that one of these is going to be still the height of the rectangle, and we know what the other one is going to be the width, but we've got to figure out what that is. So the for loop on the outside, this one controls the individual rows of this. So, if I'm printing a row, how many rows that I have is going to be still the height. Now, the amount of stars that appear in each row, that is going to be the width. And then this one will work just fine. All right. So moving along, we're going to do something a little bit more complicated. We are going to do a box. So we'll do this here. So this will kind of look like this. It's going to be hollow square. So we might have, say, a width of 5. And then what the rest of it is going to look like is like this. It's going to be hollow. And this one would be a box with a width of 5 and a height of 4. So we're going to reuse the prompts here. Okay, so enter the height of your, this time it's going to be a box. And then the width of your box. And, oh no, there we go. Then under here, we have to construct the loops for how this is going to run. Now, there are a couple different ways to do this, but the part that's significant here is the first row and the last row are different than the ones in the middle. Same thing is the column on the left and the column on the right are a little bit different from, you know, what's going to show up in the middle. So we have to figure out how to do this. Now I'm going to do this in 2 different ways. So we're going to do a for loop, and this one is just going to print the first row of stars. So for int I gets the value of 1, while I is less than or equal to the width, I plus plus. Then what we're going to do is we're going to do a system.out.print, and we're going to print a star. When we're done this, we're going to do a println. Okay, now what we're going to do here is we are going to accomplish the middle part of the loop. So I'm going to grab this and then I'm going to make a couple adaptations to it. So we still have the rows being controlled by the external ones, so this is still going to be the height. However, the thing that's going on here is that the height of the interior ones isn't the height of the shape. It is the height of the shape minus the top and bottom rows. So for this one, we're going to go as long as I is equal to height minus 2. And now, what do we do about this? We don't want to get these stars, but you know what? Let's just do a quick test to see what this is going to look like if I just did it this way. So we've got a row of stars at the top. We've got this one is going to be handling our middle rows, and then this one is going to be the end. So I'm going to run that, go through the 2 previous examples as well. So I'll do 3, and then the height of the rectangle, let's say it's 6, and the width is 7. Now, the height of the box, I'm going to do, let's say it's 8, and the width is 4. So that's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. So we're still getting the right amount. We just have to customize this middle portion so that the middle stars print as blank. So there are a couple of ways to do this. One thing that I'm going to do is we've kind of done this for specialized iterations of the loop. So on only the first and last do I want to print this star. I don't want to print it for the middle. So this is how it's going to look. Is I'm going to put an if statement here that will control whether or not I am printing a star. So I am going to print it when j equals 1, which is the first iteration, or j equals the width. which is going to be the last iteration. So in both of those scenarios, this is when I want to print the star. Otherwise, what I want to do is I want to print space. So if I copy paste this, it will print a space instead. So let's take a look at what that does. So enter the height of the square. I'm just going to do this stuff, as I had it before. Now, the height of the box, I'm going to put 7, and let's give it a little bit of a larger interior. We'll do 6. So this is what it's going to do. We get 6 stars, so we get a measure for our width. And let's count the height. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. And it accomplishes these by only on the first and last iterations on the loop are when it prints stars. Otherwise, it prints a space. So you can think of like other shapes that you could design like this, and it's a good way of testing your abilities. So think of some other shapes maybe, and then you could program how the computer would draw it.